Okay, let's talk about time, seasons. In our perception of Aini, in Aini we believe that we are all children of Mother Earth. Everyone comes from the great, whatever is your tradition, whether you have a different name for your God or for your deity or for other people, we believe that we come from the universal laws of nature. That this process of life and death is in everything. Okay? And because there's a cycle of life and death, movements also go through the same cycle of life and death. And when you look at a movement, you can actually see it go through seasons. Okay? But because the movement takes 5 to 15 years, to really see the season, you have to be really aware. So we're going to work on that for a second on us. So the seasons. So let's talk about seasons for a second. This is the winter. What is the winter about? The winter is an internal time. It's a time of low activity. It's a time to be within. It's a time of coldness. Well, the opposite of the winter is the summer. External, high activity, time to be outside. Ah!
Yeah.
How many of you like the summer? Raise your hand. Like the summer?
Good time for organizing.
Good time for organizing, right? Then you have the fall, right? If it's winter, spring, summer, right? The spring is a time of regeneration. It's a time of new beginnings. The summer is the fall is the opposite. It's a time of degeneration, of things breaking down. Each season lasts about 2 to 4 years in a movement. Okay? And there's one season that you can really get stuck on, which is the winter. Because if you don't plant new seeds, nothing grows. So you can see in history movements stuck in winter for 10, 20 years. That happens. But once you start a season of spring, it has to go through the summer and fall. Even if they're shorter periods. It has to go through that. It's a constant nature of how people organize themselves in this process. Now, people, organizations, movements, everyone is going through cycles. Okay? How many of you feel that you as an individual right now are going through a spring in your leadership? Think about it for a second. That you feel right now in your leadership, because all leadership comes from within, that in your leadership you're in a springtime. In a time of growth. Just raise your hand. Let's just see. How many people are in your springtime? Great. You're in a time of awakening of new things. How many of you feel like you're in a time of summer? That you're just like, I'm everywhere. I'm excited. I'm in my best time. I'm trying to do my best. I'm outside. How many of you feel like you're in summer? No summers? That's okay. How many of you feel like you're in a fall? That you notice that things are beginning to break down. You don't have as much energy. So we have 1 fall, 2 falls. Any other falls? A little bit? Sometimes of you are between summer and fall. The breakdown is because you are disoriented. That's part of the season change. You're preparing for the winter. How many of you feel like you're in a winter, in a time of within? Great. Perfect. That it's okay. Okay? Now let me tell you this stuff, which is, it's not part of the training, but I guess we'll just say it. But because of our culture of do, more, be the best, smile, be the best, smile. Have you heard this? Do. Everyone wants everyone to be in an eternal summer. Are you not in a summer? Are you wrong? What's going on with you? Are you not in a summer? Why are you not in a summer? Smile. Wake up. Produce. How many people have experienced this? Say I. And because of this, we do not respect our seasons. It's like not going to sleep. If you don't respect your winter at night, where you go within, how are you going to have a good day? The same thing happens in people's leadership. Winter is an extraordinary time. But even us in Boston that go through hard winters, we sometimes have bad stories about winters. I hate the winter. Why? The winter is beautiful because in the winter is when you choose which seed you will plant for the next season. But most organizations don't respect people's winters. And most of us individually don't respect our winters. Don't even understand it. We have shame about it. Forget about the shame. Respect your winters. It's important. Same thing happens in organizations. How many of your organizations are in a winter? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. You know it. In a winter, it's a time within. But how many of your organizations are struggling trying to be in a summer? Yes or no? Particularly if you're trying to respond to Trump. If you're trying to respond to another crisis. Yes or no?
Yes.
And because you don't retreat, you don't take care of yourselves, the organization actually never goes through the winter, and people break down, and the relationships that are very fragile, because you need to be in a winter, break down more. Has anybody experienced this before? Say I. Seasons is important. You must have awareness of what your season of your leadership is, the season of your organization is, and then you can be aware about the season of your movement is. Okay? That's how you go the line. Okay? Now again, one cycle is bigger than the other, and so forth and so on. Before I continue, because I dumped a lot of stuff, any questions that people might have? Okay. Take a deep breath, everybody. You notice why I'm trying to get you to be specific. Because the awareness is that we say movement, but we don't know what the hell we mean. We don't know which movement. Talking national? Are you talking local? Are you talking global? Well, what season are they in? So then, because we cannot distinguish, and it's really difficult to organize people if you don't know the seasons, because you're always getting people conflicting theories of seasons. The climate movement national is going through spring. Early spring. Yes. The Green New Deal is propelling that. You can feel it on the air. Now, within the climate movement, there's all these other sub-movements. There's a whole alternative cooperative. There's a whole, and they're all going through different seasons. Are you following me in this? Now, one spring retaliates to everything. It supports everything. Okay? But we have to have that awareness, because what happens is sometimes we say, well, I think the movement is in the spring. I'm sorry, in the winter. The movement, people are having a whole different reality. And that's what we have to organize. Second point that I will say to them, continue. We tend to confuse our own season with the season of the organization, and we tend to confuse our own season of an organization to the season of the movement. I coach a lot of people in the field of criminal justice, particularly mostly formerly incarcerated black women that I work with, and I do this exercise with them. And 99% of them agree on the season that the movement is in, and the organization. And when I ask who has a different season, for a particular reason, they are confused. They're thinking of their own season. So they see the organization through their own lens. So if I'm going through a winter, everything is fucked. Does that make some sense? What's the secret to keeping people in your organization? I'm going to continue this. Take care of them in the winter, and they will be with you forever. Don't ask them to be in a summer. Take care of them in a winter. Same for an organization. Great. Let me go on. This is the immigrant rights movement. Just so you can see a little bit of the seasonality. It's a little map. Thank you for the laughter. So I appreciate it.
The last one.
But we see the fall of the immigrant rights movement sometime between 1996 and 9/11, just to give you a sense of a long period of a fall. Again, once we go deeper, what event, you can go crazier on that stuff, right? But 9/11 really crystallized the winter for the movement, where the national hopes of the movement were pretty much slashed. I don't know if people know, but in September 6, 2001, there was almost a legalization deal between Bush and Fox, the president of Mexico, that 5 days later got completely erased because of 9/11. So that's the winter of the movement. Then people started doing campaigns, doing the freedom rides. People started building coalition structures. And then in 2006, there was a mega marches. How many people experienced the mega marches or saw this big marches that immigrants did?
Yeah.
Great. That's the springtime. Okay? It's an awakening. Now, sometimes people confuse the spring with the summer because they have a hot day, and people in Boston do this all the time. Yes or no? We go into shorts, it's already summer, and then the next day we freeze our asses.
Yeah.
Yes or no? Same thing happens on a movement. There's a hot day and we confuse it with the summer. Okay? So the spring happens, and then mega marches, Dream Act. In 2006, we have millions of people on the street. 2007, we got only hundreds. That's not a summer. That's a spring. It's an awakening only. Then in 2008, the Obama election propels us to a long 4-year summer, where there is this whole fight for legalization, for all these things. And that's also the birth, at that point, of what we call the Dream Movement, right? And then the movement in 2012 wins DACA. Humongous victory. At that time, the largest victory of the movement in 26 years. At that time. Then the movement uses the same strategy and goes and tries to win another thing for parents called DAPA, which will legalize another 5 million people. And we won it, but we lost in the courts. Now, that propel already... Now, you got to think about this. Some of us start here. You're going. Spring, going, summer, going. You win and you're like, holy shit, thank God we won something because I'm fucking tired. Right? We keep going. Some people feel shame. I'm tired, but I keep going. And then at some point, the generation that went through the season takes a break.
Yeah.
They don't go to a meeting and say, we're going to take a break. Everyone just takes a fucking break. And then the movement goes through a fall. Meaning that the strategy, the structure of the movement doesn't work anymore for the next season. It needs to be destroyed or reconstructed for the next time. Okay? Trump becomes the last. Okay, so some people have heard of cosecha or movement cosecha, which is kind of a movement that Brenda and I and Gabby and others are part of, right? That Fatima and I started. The movement cosecha emerges here, but we're in a fall. And then we're in a winter. Right? So it takes all this time to reorganize the movement. And what we're trying to do right now is to get the migrant movement to go through a proper winter so that we can have the next spring. Now, what does this tell us? That there will be a spring. The question is, would we be ready with the right strategy, the right structure, and the right story? That's the question of the movement.
Yes.
Are you following me on this? This is one cycle from here to here. Okay? Now there's been cycles before, and there will be cycles in the future. Are you following me on this? Why is it hard to be aware of a movement? Because some people experience this. Everyone loves the summer, everyone hates the winter. Are you following me on this? Or they are here, and by the third year, they're like, well, this is never going to change, and they leave. Isn't it so great if they would know that we're in a winter, or that we're in a fall, and that you're about to take the journey of your lifetime to make a social movement that will change part of this country? Is this making any sense, crew? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yes.
Fit together like where the individuals are.
You have to go through your winter. Respect your winter. Don't do summer if you're going through winter. You see, this is the thing. All leadership comes from within. It comes from here. Inside. What propels you. Transformation. To have transformation, you have to break down yourself. Sometimes people say something inside of you has to die. It's part of that. A way of thinking has to die. A perceptive has to die. Right? To have maturity, immaturity has to die. It's a process of death. But most of us don't die. Most of us just institutionalize and have a zombie body inside of us.
Have a what?
A zombie. That is half alive. We don't kill it. We don't let the new seed awaken. So what happens is, so you're asking me the question, what is as a movement doctor, what is my recommendation to put in this term? Go through your winter. Respect your winter. Why is this important? Because you're in a winter now, but you're not going to be always in a winter.
It feels like that.
Yeah, it feels like that. But you're regaining all this year. And sometimes in leadership, and we can, maybe we can do another session on just the leadership seasons on your leadership. But you can spend a year and a half in a winter. Okay? Within the winter, you have little winter, spring, summer, right? But you can spend a year and a half, and that year and a half sucks. To me, those cycles happen every 5 years. A year, yourself is asking you to stop. Most of us, winter is painful because we don't accept we're in a winter. Accept. I don't want to be in a winter. I want to be in the organizing. I want to do this. Well, why are you doing that to yourself? Does that make some sense? And this is the problem with movement efficiency, and I'm going to stop here. The movement efficiency problem is that we have people that are not in the right season burning organizations. So not only you are withdrawing because your capacity is not really there, but you fucking kill the whole body. Because you think that you are greater than your season. I see leaders that go and they're in a winter. When the top leaders in a winter, you have to be really careful. If they're not aware of it, they'll take everyone through a winter. Has anybody experienced this? Say aye.
Aye.
Great. So just respect your winter and let us, I need to take care of you. That's what we're trying to do. Just hang out with us. That's what we're doing. Hang out with us. We'll later do the global reciprocity. I have it on the slide. Go ahead.
For us, I feel like, it'd be nice if we get the law passed, but I feel like even if the law is passed, we as a movement we're still trying to find ourselves. We're still trying to educate the public about workplace abuse.
That is correct.
And I feel like that's like, in some ways, that's even harder than getting the law passed, because where do you even begin to have that
That is
discussion?
correct. Now, you have 10 years. In what timeline are you both operating? Are you operating in 10 years or in 2 years or in 3 years?
She's been doing this for 10 years. So.
But how much is your planning? Are you operating thinking we have 10 or are you thinking we have 2?
More short term.
More short term. Now, is it bad to think short term? Nothing wrong. The problem is when you don't have long term.
Yeah.
You have 10 years. So what happens is you're trying to cramp everything into 2 years, and that's how now the seasons work. Okay? Most people, and I'll give you one thing. Do you want to know what's the number one reason why in movements we don't understand this? Number one, because there's no craft. We do not see this as a craft, because most people doing it are individuals. There's no science to this. There is a science to this. You think we're the only ones that are building movements? You think there's not been millions of people that have done movements? There's a whole literature. There's a whole wisdom of this. But we have this generation or this culture that I'm part of too that says, I want to plant the seed on Monday, and on Tuesday I want to see the fruits. That's not how life works. If we don't align to the universal laws of life and nature, we're never going to build anything. You have to understand. That's why wisdom is knowing how long things take. That's what wisdom is. Okay? And when you get older, you understand wisdom because you experience it. Okay? That's why we say ancestors, because we young people, it's great, we're excited, but we need to relate to the ancestors. Because we didn't think we know it all, and that's not true. That's why I have my teachers from the Amazon and the Ant, they beat me up. They're like, you're wrong. Great, thank you. It's important. Because we become arrogant, thinking because we saw a little cycle that we know everything. Wait until you go to 2 cycles. And then you'll be like, the 2 cycles didn't match. What the fuck? That's when you go, and that's in 30 years. But 30 years is nothing, but 30 years will be 50. We got it. Or somebody will be 70. We still got it. We can give advice. We can do the next movement. Are you following me on this? Use your time wisely. Okay. Are you ready for do the right things? Yes? Are you there? How many of you feel like this is important to talk? Important conversations to have in the movement? Raise your hands.
Yes.
How many of you feel like you want to go deeper and do a lot more training on this and go crazy? Or bring other people? How many of you have a director that you want to bring and be like, dude or dudette, you're in a season. You're in a winter. Come, realize you're in a season. How many of you want that? Raise your hand. Send them to us. We'll fix them. Or at least we'll try to get them aware. They have to take their own step, but we'll get them aware. So right things. So, okay, so we're talking about timing. Are we sensing timing?
Yeah.
Let's talk about things.
Yeah.
What kind of things?